Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking into a developing issue that has raised serious debates in Johannesburg, as authorities carried out a raid in Bruma targeting undocumented foreigners who are said to be running Spaza shops. Please make sure you listen right until the end so you can hear the sources of this news and try to verify it for yourself. And if you haven't yet, remember to subscribe to the channel so you never miss updates like this. Now, let's dive in. The Bruma raid has become one of the most talked about operations this week. Johannesburg Metro Police, together with Home Affairs officials and members of the South African Police Service, moved in to inspect Spaza shops across Bruma, which is an area known for its bustling small businesses and trading spaces. What shocked many residents is the sheer number of undocumented foreigners found operating within these businesses. According to authorities, many of the individuals arrested could not produce valid identification or the required business permits to legally run their shops. For some South Africans, this raid feels like long overdue action. Communities have been raising concerns for years about how undocumented traders are able to set up shops and run businesses without proper registration or regulation. People argue that it undermines local entrepreneurs who are trying to follow the rules but are struggling against unfair competition. Some say these shops often sell goods at very low prices, sometimes even cheaper than the local wholesalers, raising questions about where the stock comes from and whether it's always legitimate. On the other hand, there are those who feel that these kinds of raids are unfairly targeting foreign nationals and could easily escalate tensions in communities. Johannesburg is a city built on migration, both internal and external, and many argue that small foreign-owned shops are also a vital part of the economy. These shops often operate in areas where big supermarkets don't set up, providing residents with affordable daily necessities. To some, removing them suddenly without offering alternatives only worsens unemployment and poverty. But the government insists that the issue is not about nationality but legality. Officials stress that the law applies to everyone in South Africa, whether local or foreign, and operating without documents or permits is a direct violation. The Bruma operation was not a random one either. Authorities say it came after months of complaints from residents and business associations who felt that law enforcement was turning a blind eye to undocumented business activities. The question that many people are asking now is, what happens next? Are these raids going to spread to other parts of Johannesburg or even nationwide? For years, there have been calls for stricter enforcement around business permits, particularly in the Spaza shop sector, which is often unregulated. We have seen similar operations in other provinces before, but they usually spark heated debates about xenophobia, fairness, and human rights. One interesting point that has emerged from this debate is how some local South Africans have been working in partnership with foreign nationals in these businesses. You will find many Spaza shops run jointly by locals and migrants, with profits being shared. This complicates the picture because shutting down these shops might not just affect undocumented foreigners, but also South Africans who are employed or partnered in these businesses. At the same time, there are valid concerns about public safety. In some cases, raids have uncovered counterfeit goods, expired products, or food items stored in unsafe conditions. Residents argue that without stricter monitoring, these shops could pose health risks to the community. Authorities in Bruma have hinted that part of the raid's purpose was not only about documentation but also about ensuring health and safety standards are upheld. Now, the public's reaction to this has been divided. On social media, you'll find many South Africans applauding the operation, saying it's about time laws were enforced properly. Others, however, fear that it sets the stage for more hostility between locals and foreign nationals. Community leaders have urged people to remain calm and not take the law into their own hands, warning against mob justice or targeting innocent people based on where they come from. When we look at the bigger picture, this Bruma raid highlights a regional challenge that South Africa has been facing for years: how to balance migration, economic inclusion, and legal enforcement in a way that protects both citizens and foreign residents. South Africa's unemployment crisis already creates tension when it comes to jobs and business opportunities. Foreign nationals, especially those undocumented, often find themselves in the middle of this heated debate. For now, the arrested individuals are expected to face deportation processes, while their shops will either be closed or handed over to those with proper documents. But whether this solves the larger issue is another question. Many analysts believe that until there's a clear national policy addressing small business regulation and migration, these raids will only continue to spark more division rather than resolution. It is also worth noting that South Africa has signed on to international human rights agreements that protect migrants and asylum seekers. This means the state must tread carefully to avoid violating basic rights while still enforcing domestic laws. Balancing these two is a tightrope, and the Bruma incident has once again shown just how tricky it can be. So, what do South Africans think about this? Some feel it's about restoring order in communities. Others believe the focus should be on bigger issues like corruption, load shedding, unemployment, and crime. They argue that even if undocumented Spaza shop owners are removed, the deeper economic and social problems will remain. As for the residents of Bruma, some welcome the operation, saying it brought back a sense of accountability. Others were left worried about where they would now buy their daily goods, especially if the shops remain shut. This shows how deeply integrated these businesses are in the fabric of local communities. Before we wrap up, I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Do you think the Bruma raid was a necessary enforcement of the law, or do you feel it unfairly targeted people just trying to survive? Share your opinions in the comments, because this is a conversation South Africa needs to have openly and honestly. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss updates like this. We bring you the news in a way that's clear, real, and connected to the everyday life of South Africans. Now, on a lighter note, I must say this whole situation reminds me of how we sometimes act at home. You know, when you raid your own fridge late at night and hope nobody notices, only to find your little brother already ate the leftovers. Well, it seems in Bruma, the authorities raided and found more than anyone expected. At least in this case, nobody's arguing over the last slice of pizza. All images used in this video are for illustration purposes only. News sources: Sowetan Live, Times Live, News 24, Eyewitness News.